Good evening. Welcome to the January 17th Clark County Fire District 6 Board of Fire Commissioners meeting. I'd like to call this evening's meeting to order and ask that you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, I'd ask for any additions to the agenda.
None here?
Yeah, all right. With that, we'll need to read and approve, post as necessary, the minutes of our January 3rd board meeting.
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I didn't see any correspondence included in this evening's packet. Citizen communications. Citizens wishing to communicate with the board this evening can do so using the YouTube chat feature. That will be monitored throughout this evening's meeting, and those questions can be answered. Moving on to committee reports, health and safety report, Chief Russell.
Yeah, I think number 5 in your packet is the safety report. We met, I do have a typo there on the date. We met January 5th. There were 3 injuries found. You guys can review those if you wish. Exposures, we've just had some, run-of-the-mill COVID-19 exposures noted just for L&I reasons. Also accident, we had engine 61 was backed into while parked. It was reported as a hit and run. Just very light damage, I think, that Brad just kind of took care of in-house. Shift reports, we had some concerns regarding water damage in the dorm here at Station 61 after the freeze, and I'll let Chief Newberry kind of talk about the mitigation of that moisture in his facilities update. Otherwise, it's the end of my report unless you guys have questions.
No questions?
No questions here either.
Is there somebody with the engine when I got backed into?
No, they were inside on a call.
And so it was outside on a call. So
Yeah.
probably ain't locked, actually.
Yeah, it was not AMR, it was I think a patron of a grocery store potentially. I think they didn't think they hit it, or they knew they hit it, I think they looked and couldn't see any damage.
Alrighty. Risk management group, Commissioner Haynes.
We had a meeting on the 4th of January. Nothing too big. We discussed the potential to increase our deductible, but the group felt it was better just to keep things status quo.
Okay. Thank you. And Fairgrounds Fire Facility Board.
We did meet, nothing out of the ordinary. Phil Sample, the new commander out there, was at our meeting, and we walked through, Chief Russell and I walked through and looked at some of the rooms that we're going to take over in the room that they're currently occupying and try to figure out additional space for them. They understand that part of the deal is that we need the space, so they're working through that. There's going to be a door somewhere in the hallway. I don't know if they figured that out yet to kind of block things off. But besides that, the crews out there have done additional landscaping work and treated Moss and the Rough as they've done a lot of stuff for us out there, so we appreciate that. But I think we have a couple AC units that might need to be replaced this year. So there'll be some capital expenditures, but not that many. So.
Yeah, I assume those are probably the original HVAC
I think
units.
they said that there was 10 or 12 of them, and we replaced maybe 4, and the rest of them are original.
Okay, yeah.
1996.
All time for that, yeah.
Still going.
Alrighty, thank you. Consent agenda.
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Moving on to this evening's chief report. Chief, if you'd like to walk through those items.
Sure. First item is the overtime report, and for December 2022, overtime was $136,593.12, and the majority of that was shift replacement, callback for overtime. And moving on to the budget performance report. Again, this is end of the year, so for our general fund fire suppression 6212, we've expended 73.7%. For 6242 EMS, we've expended 78.3%. And both 6212 and 6242 have a carryover from 2022 in excess of the required 35%.
Excellent.
So we're in good shape.
That's great.
And facilities update, Chief Newberry has that information.
Sure. Number 8 in the board packet is the logistics update. I know it's dated today, but I wrote it last week, and so there's some date differences in it, but nonetheless. I think the things that are of importance to the board are the Station 61 water damage report, and then the remodel and Station 63, some of the stuff we're going through with the county on those permits. So I'll just start with those things. And if you have questions on the other items, feel free to ask. So Station 61, I reported last board meeting that we had some water damage secondary to an ice dam that developed on the eaves of the building. Myself and Andre and Service Master, we worked that day to limit the damage and to salvage some property. Then Service Master left some equipment here to dry out the building, some fans, remove the ceiling tiles, insulation, all the wet material that was, easily taken out, and some dehumidifiers in both the dorm and in Chief Schmidt's office. They came back out and put some more equipment up in the attics to make sure that was all dried out. And then last week on Thursday, they removed that equipment after several weeks, looks like about 3 weeks with those things running. They opened up the walls in several locations and found that there was still some mild moisture in the walls behind the sheetrock. And so once they opened that up, they kept the equipment running and dried out those things until the moisture equipment gauges, whatever they have, could read acceptable moisture levels. They inspected for mold, didn't find any mold growth. They reported acceptable moisture levels throughout, and that's when we okayed them to go ahead and leave. They did find one location over the dining room on the underside of the roof deck that looked like an old leak that had caused some discoloration on the bottom of the roof deck. And so they treated that because apparently the mold will sometimes, if there's mold in a space and it dries out, it stops reproducing until it gets moist again, and then it starts going, building again. So they didn't say that was mold, but they said that because it could have been mold at one time and there was new moisture in there, they wanted to treat it to make sure that it didn't re-multiply. So they treated that one spot. We expect a report from Service Master as soon as that is available. I'm going to make it available to Chief Russell so you can discuss that with, provide that information to the Safety Committee, so that the union can have that. We can have a good discussion about that. All of that has been now mitigated. We've put the ceiling tiles back in. There's an insurance claim with Gladfelter Insurance. They sent an adjuster out to look at the damage, and I've been working with them and the insurance company to figure out how that's going to be paid for. So, do you have any questions on that topic? Okay. Station 61's remodel. We've been chasing these permits for months. The last update I gave you was the county had reviewed the plans and sent first round of comments back to us or back to the architect, asking questions, clarifying things, making sure that we were all on the same page, making sure we were going down the right path. Once we received those comments, the architect responded back to the county with the answers, and normally it goes about 2 rounds back and forth, sometimes 3, but generally 2. And so we were waiting with bated breath, thinking the permits were coming. Well, kind of at the 11th hour, we received notice from the county that they were requiring a full development engineering permit for this remodel. We felt that we were within the boundaries not to go to that level. That cost an additional $4,478.35 for that permit, and an additional, who knows, but 3 to 6 weeks of review at the county. So it's a bit frustrating for everybody involved. The architect is frustrated, we're frustrated, I know you guys probably are concerned, the chief is frustrated, crews are frustrated. It's been quite an adventure, so. The new construction schedule was sent from McKinsey after this delay, and now we are expecting to go to bid around the 23rd of February, but again, it's been a moving target. So, kind of segueing on our other permit, which is for Station 63's metal building, that has been delayed as well. They came back to us commenting that they felt that the building needed to be a different classification than what it was, although we had had these discussions with them early in the process. And we're requiring a higher insulation and lighting values. The architect replied with the code exceptions that we identified in the very beginning of the process, but they replied again, and we're just waiting for the county to get back to us on that, so. It's just,
Do we have county partners or electeds that it would be helpful for us to maybe meet with to discuss our frustrations?
I think that's a great question and a great opportunity for us to build relationships. We have good relationships with the fire marshal's office. The county is a bit tougher to build those relationships with, because the county, the building department is pretty isolated. Where we've had a lot of success in the past is the board reaching out to the Board of County Commissioners directly. And when I say success or luck, I just mean that building those relationships, and nobody's greasing the skids or anything.
Right.
It's just sometimes those conversations at your level have been beneficial.
Okay.
I think that Commissioner Losbeck would probably know.
I'm thinking one of the reasons why they're being slow on this is because the last time that we all went down and met with the boss, he agreed with us, and his staff member wasn't happy, but I talked to one of the newer elected county councilors last week. I saw her at an event and mentioned it to her, and they've been asked by the county manager if they get a complaint not to take it straight to the building department, but to run it through her office. And so it might be more prudent, if we think we have some issues, is to get a hold of the county manager, Kathleen Otto, and
Well, of course, staff will do whatever it is that you prefer. I have primed the architect to have this, I didn't want the architect to go to a bunch of effort to rebuild this case in writing so that we could make this move without the board's, interest in doing it. If the board's interested in doing that, I can have the architect basically build the case and send a letter to the county manager if that's what you chose, but.
well, I gotta tell you, we're not the only ones talking to some other builders.
Yeah.
Apparently they're short on staff. And then COVID happened, and some people left, and they haven't hired some of the positions. They're talking about actually hiring non-county employees to start doing some of the engineering stuff just because they're so backed up. I'm afraid at this point, if we're 3 to 6 weeks out and we start complaining, we get the permit, the next thing you know, they're gonna find something else and something else and something else as the remodel is going forward. I'm not saying that would happen, might just be concerned about that, but at this point, 3 to 6 weeks.
And I don't disagree with
know.
anything that you said. It's just that on November 1st, we thought we were there. And then there's delays and additional requirements that are kind of out of left field.
Was there any explanation given for the additional requirements?
So there's parameters for the square footage of building and disturbance of the property, the soil. And so when we made the design, we were within the threshold for the building footprint. And the concrete that we have to replace, we kept it within the parameters. They really, at the 11th hour, I mean, the second round of comments, we were really expecting that we were in the home stretch. Sprung this on us, and it's one of those things that the architect can go to battle with them, and they really hold all the cards. The county really has, and they can interpret the code the way that they interpret the code, and it's probably unlikely that we're going to change their mind. It's sometimes just better to get going, and so I just don't know if it's really going to be 3 to 6 weeks, or 3 to 6 weeks from now we're going to be talking about another 3 to 6 weeks like we have for the last 3 to 6 weeks.
And we may not make a difference with our case this time. I think, for me, if, you know, we're partnering agencies, spending taxpayer dollars, and when another agency takes issue with what we thought we were being good stewards of our taxpayers' dollars, and then now they want additional fees, and if they're short-staffed, then why ask for an additional review? I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me. And so, raising awareness with whoever we need to might just be talking about, you know, this isn't the way we expect to be treated from a county partner. So,
Well, if we wanna send something, I would suggest we send it to Kathleen Otto and CC it to the county councilors. And approach it, I mean, how long do we have to spend the bond money?
3 years from the time we got the funds.
We got the funds how long ago? A year,
About a year,
has it been a year?
in May or
When do we sell
something.
bonds? I can't remember, I should be able to, but.
Well,
It was last spring.
so these things have maybe gotten the best traction in the past when the board sent it, even though staff drafts these things. And we wouldn't draft that without you sanctioning that, yes, we want this written, and then we would deliver it to the board to be delivered as you saw fit.
our board chair loves to write letters like
Yeah,
that.
it does.
Staff would assist with that. That's the choice that you guys have made. But I think the chief would appreciate some clear direction on that before we, move forward on that.
I don't have a problem doing it, I just think we need to be careful how we approach it. And we're concerned for our citizens, or we're concerned about being able to spend the bond money in a certain amount of time.
There's so many pieces of this puzzle that cannot be put in place until we have these permits. How do you ask a landlord to lease us space for staff for a year without knowing when that might be?
Right.
You know, I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's just cascading issues that this causes, and you can't make plans for it.
Well, you know, if we wait till our next meeting to look at a letter, it's 2 more weeks, so.
Right.
I would suggest maybe have staff write something up and
Yeah.
let the chair look at it, if you feel comfortable with it, sign it on our behalf, and,
Is that, yeah?
I'll,
or you can sign along with the chief.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you should probably.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
We can get it to those commissioners as well.
You know, we're not the only ones,
County
at
manager.
the triple FB meeting, Chief Norrie was upset because they were replacing some concrete or something, and they were requiring them to do soil testing and doing a whole bunch of other stuff, and I said, well, yeah, they're probably gonna find an arrowhead.
Yeah.
You said you might go throw it.
Oh, okay. I didn't really want that, I didn't really want that on
Just
YouTube,
toss one
right?
in there, just
Yeah.
more.
So, you know, we're not the only ones, and they're gonna do some more building too, so, I mean, we've been, what, 8 or 9 months? We've been that long on our storage building.
Right.
We submitted for permits by our accounts, I can't remember now, it was late August or early September. And so it's been,
6 months?
Is your plan to like list out the timelines that we've been working within then, and kind of both issues really
yeah.
are parallel, and both have had their added issues thrown in.
Yeah, we have to
Okay.
work with the architect to put something together for you.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, we'll get that sent off, and at least draw awareness to the situation, and
I mentioned the bond money. We can find out when we gotta spend that in a certain amount of time by law. We just can't let it sit in the bank and collect interest, which until now hasn't been very much. Anyway, some things that operationally maybe are, thank you.
Thank you for the update.
I think the close of the docks was about December of '21.
So we're
Over here.
15, 16 months into it. We've got to spend it within 3 years. It's gonna be close. Sean will take care of that for us, I'll figure out.
You know how to spend money.
Thank you for the update. Moving on to old business, I didn't see any old business listed. New business, policy 717.
Yes, so in your packet, Dropbox number 9 is the policy 717, photography, digital imagery, and video. This is a policy we've been working with the local on to come together with a agreed upon policy by all members. And this one is from a local attorney here, so it's a local policy. We've given them a copy back just in the new formatting is the only changes we've made to it. So this is the first look at this, and you'll have 2 weeks then to review it next meeting.
All right, so this policy originated then in 2017. This is just a revision.
This is a revision of the old policy that was on the books.
Okay. All righty. Any questions related to that? Okay. New vendor for auction items.
So our normal outlet, J Stout Auctions, they don't have a need or an interest in many of the items that we have for surplus now that we're preparing with our remodel of Station 61. So we'd like to add a company called GeoGovs, which allows us to manage some of these items ourselves through the surplus process. Both Brad Osborne and Chief Newbury are working on this process, but most likely will require some type of contract. So this notification to the board that we're looking at contracting with an additional vendor to assist the district with surplus items.
Chief Newbury, they talked to Chief Russell a little bit about this, if there are any items that we might be able to use at 151,
Sure.
they have, I think we probably have some stuff they could use.
Sure.
And not have to go out and buy new instead of auctioning it off for pennies on the dollar.
Okay.
If you could at least touch bases with them, I'd appreciate it.
You bet. I just wanna make one correction, the outfit's called Gov Deals, I'm sure that you guys are familiar with Gov Deals, but it's, you manage it yourself. It's just another outlet. It's hard to dispose of things. If your auction house doesn't want them, Goodwill won't take them from you. You don't wanna throw them in the landfill, they're still very usable, so.
All right, thank you.
And that's the end of new business.
Okay, does there need any approval for that okay.
I don't believe so.
Okay.
She just wanted to let the board know anytime that they enter the contract. So
Perfect. I didn't see a need for any executive session this evening. It takes us to roundtable good of the order.
Yes, I'd like to, this is Captain Scott Tobby's last shift with District 6. And I'd just like to thank him for his service. He's been a great employee. Cared a lot about the citizens, cared a lot about the district. We're gonna miss him, and wish him a happy retirement.
Wish Scott well in retirement. I understand it's been a 30-year career, so it's very nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that, we will need to authorize January issuance of payroll warrants, authorize January payroll direct deposits, treasurer's check, authorize January deposit of federal and FICA medical withholding treasurer's check, authorize pre-authorization invoice transmittal, and authorize payment of current bills.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned. Hopefully there wasn't any questions. Sorry.
I don't see any questions.
You gotta wait till he turns it up.